Welcome to UC Today with me, David Dungay. I have with me today Ian Guest from Pure IP, Mattia and Laura from Microsoft. Welcome to the show, everyone. How are you doing?
Great.
Hello,
thank
David.
you.
Great, thanks. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be talking about Operator Connect, obviously one of the biggest announcements out of Microsoft Ignite recently. But before we get into that, should we do a few introductions? Where should we start? Laura, do you want to start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and the part of Microsoft you work in.
Sure. My name's Laura Kramer, and I work on the Teams team focused on Teams Phone. I am a product marketing manager, and I am just really excited to be part of this.
Brilliant. It's great to have you. And Mattia.
Hi everyone, really glad to be here. And my name is Mattia Toko. I'm one of the PM leads in Microsoft Teams, and my team look after Operator Connect. That we're going to talk about that today, direct routing, and some of the edge components in Teams.
Excellent. And last but not least, Ian.
Hello, David. Yes, so Ian Guest, and I'm the marketing director here at Pure IP. We supply voice services to enterprises around the world, basically.
Excellent. Well, look, where should we start? Operator Connect. Let's talk about that. It's fairly new out of the blocks. Public preview is happening fairly shortly. But what problem is Operator Connect? What is it solving for business? Mattia, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Sure. I will start with this. This is a great question. Thanks, David. So when we start designing Operator Connect, our top of mind was really improving the customer experience for all those customers that are trying to integrate voice in Microsoft Teams, leveraging an operator. And in this specific context, what we did was developing this simplified experience with Operator Connect and effectively driving parity between an offer delivered by a third party, which is the operator itself, and the offer that we have as a first party like calling plan. Like what we want to drive is an experience that is simple as I go to my portal, I select my operator for the voice services, I acquire number service for the operator, those numbers will show up in our portal, and I will be able to assign those numbers to user and make and receive calls. So that's a level of simplicity that we want to introduce. Internally we call that like a zero-touch configuration, where the surface for configuration for a customer is really minimal. And basically there is no need for being an expert in voice for setting up the service and get everything going. Now, the reality is that when implementing all of these, we also set SLAs with the operators such as Pure IP, as well as a fully integrated support model, so that we can keep quality and also have a good level of resiliency through like a direct peering with them, through SLA alerting, anomaly detection, a series of things in place that can make this an enterprise-grade service. And we saw like through these months and through this year, actually, through the pandemic, we saw an increased need for this kind of implementation amongst our customers, where many of them, wanted to quickly move away from on-premises infrastructure and start leveraging Teams, for example, for calling, but at the same time didn't want to have that expertise specifically for voice and getting too much deep of voice, so having a simple solution for implementation. So that's basically what Operator Connect is answering to from a business perspective. And the last point I want to make is Operator Connect, while in public preview that we just announced, we will be covering calling. We built in a such way that working with partners and operators, this will be a framework, meaning that today we are delivering calling, nothing excluded in the future. We'll expand like the footprint of the service that we can deliver through operators, always with in mind the Microsoft goal of empowering every person and organization to achieve more.
Okay, so you mentioned there, the importance of Operator Connect and what it's going to achieve for businesses. One of the things I do want to pick up there, Mattia, is speed. You talked about removing the complexity of those sort of voice skills, if you like. What does it mean in terms of the speed of being able to implement this service?
That will just definitely go in favor of the speed. This is probably also one of the reasons why this became like a recurrent also ask during the last year. Because in the moment we acquire a number from an operator, PRP for example, in this case, it will be a matter of minutes because you will have those numbers in your tenant, will be just assigning to the user and place receive calls. So speed will be key, and it's one of the points that we'll definitely address with Operator Connect.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about what kinds of businesses are going to be using. I mean, ultimately using Operator Connect. Is it going to be suitable for everyone? Laura, what's your take on that?
It's absolutely suitable for everybody. It may sort of at first glance look like it's more SMB oriented, but it was built for customers of every size. And we, as Mattia mentioned, we're really looking to make things easier and faster for our customers, and we want them to be able to bring their own operators easily to Teams phone, Teams calling. And I think the other really important part of that is really giving our customers choice. We're not saying you have to do one or the other. They can still use direct routing in its purest form. They can use Operator Connect, or if they wanted to, they could select our own Microsoft calling plans. So really, it's really about giving our customers choice and being flexible and trying to make it as easy as possible for them to enable users in Teams Phone.
Okay, so I mean, Laura, you mentioned there, you're giving customers essentially choice here, which is great. So you see a world where direct routing and Operator Connect they can live side by side, depending on the customer's needs and wants and wishes. Is that kind of what you see happening?
Absolutely. All three scenarios that we have today can live, side by side. And depending on the location and the customer's needs, some of their locations might require one solution while others may need another. And we just want them to be able to do what's best for their individual needs.
Great. Okay. So, Ian, I mean, as a method of adding voice to Teams, there are several methods out there. How does Operator Connect, stack up against the other options available to customers at the moment?
I think it's a difficult one to really start looking at features comparison type activities. I think, as Laura's already just said, it's a matter of choices here. So I think you look at calling plans on the one hand, which is a very convenient method of getting everything through Microsoft, and will certainly appeal and does appeal to a number of customers. You've then got at the other end of the spectrum direct routing, which gives you the sort of the full customization, which it gives you those with the more complex requirements and integrations and things where there's needs that need to be a little bit more sort of tailored. That's suited in there. Whereas in the middle, you've got the Operator Connect, which really gives you that flexibility, the convenience again of doing it through the tenant, the speed that we've talked about previously as well. So, and it's not an either or, as Laura said. It's a mixture. You can have a blend of these across your environment. So, I think it's you have to, as a customer, you have to look at it and say, well, what are my requirements and where am I best suited to do it? What's important to me? Is it the convenience factor? Is it the management through the portal? So I think there's lots of factors a customer would need to consider, but I don't think you should look at it as that's good, that's bad, that's not got this missing. I think you need to look at it as a suite of services.
Yeah. Okay. Mattia, what's your take on that?
So basically, Operator Connect is going to enrich the options that we have for implementing basically calling capabilities of voice in general within Microsoft Teams. Ian just mentioned this, that there is, this Microsoft, fully managed by Microsoft calling plans, which is one solution, easy to implement. There is, on the other spectrum, direct routing, full flexibility. It helps you in bringing your own, environment on premises or an operator to be integrated within Microsoft Teams. And there is now in the middle Operator Connect. It is a fully managed solution by an operator. Doesn't require any on-premises infrastructure for a customer, but gives still the flexibility of integrating an operator of your choice within Microsoft Teams. So I usually say this internally at Microsoft that Operator Connect brings the simplicity of calling plans, but with the flexibility of being able to integrate an operator that is typical of direct routing. So it mixes those together basically goes after that value proposition. It's important to understand that one doesn't replace the other. Like when we consider operator connect and direct routing, like direct routing is more specific for scenarios that needs more flexibility from an integration perspective. Think about when we have an on-premises IP PBX and we need to integrate that. That could be achieved easily through direct routing. And that goes back to the point that Laura was making before. Like the beauty of all of this is that these three methodologies can coexist on the same customer, on the same tenant. So for different location, for different regulatory needs, I could implement basically all three of them, and everything will coexist as a portfolio of services within the customer infrastructure.
Okay, so Ian, I'm really interested in how Operator Connect influences your value add. Does Operator Connect, is it commoditizing part of this sort of market for you? How is it impacting your ability to add that value that you're sort of known for to your customers?
I don't think it would be right to call it as commoditizing. I think it's still unique to teams. I mean, commoditizing would suggest that anybody can go out and do it and add this in. I think it's another choice. It's another option. So I think what it's actually doing is just streamlining the process, as Mattia has already mentioned, of the acquisition and the provisioning. So it just makes that a little bit more automated. It makes it quicker, and that's something we see a lot of, and it's something that we're working quite heavily on with some of our services. Is how do we provision things? How do we automate it? How do we make it more self-help for people? Because it's that sort of process that I think is where we're going to increasingly head towards. People are looking for that convenience, that speed. There are a lot of, particularly in the more complex environments, there are certain parts of the process which are by nature a little bit more complex, so they need a little bit more of a hands-on approach. So that's where I think direct routing and the value add comes in for the customers from some of the services that we can add. It's not a horses for courses type of approach that we're taking, but in terms of the value add that we still see, it's about the services you add around there. So, for example, if you're looking to do a migration that you've still got a lot of legacy on-premise type equipment, or you're looking to bring in a contact center, or you've got fax machines, or those sort of things, you're still going to need an environment where there's the integration capability. So that's a value add that we can bring, and consolidating those services. So you've got a single supplier you're working with, whether you're taking the numbers from Operator Connect or you're taking them from direct routing, whatever that option is. So from our point of view, it's not impacting at all on our value. We're being able to offer something new to the customers. And our focus is very much around, as I say, the automation, the other value adds where customers are feeling pain in, whether it's part of the process or the management at the end of it, providing extra little bits that perhaps don't get provided elsewhere. So it's a constantly changing beast, but it's not really impacting. I don't see the value that we add to our core customers.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. I mean, you mentioned, pain points there, and complexity. There's still plenty of opportunity to add, value around the complexity that surrounds teams. Where are those typical pain points that you foresee or you're seeing that customers are experiencing right now?
They vary, and if you look throughout the process, I think if you start at the very beginning, it's understanding what you've got, looking at getting single visibility of that. Now, if you've got all things through one portal, great. Now, very, very few customers actually have everything on one system, particularly the larger the multinationals, the more diverse and dispersed of systems that they have. So actually getting full visibility of that is complex. I think if you want to start looking at complex voice routing plans and rules in place to do there, then there's certain things that need to be set up from a configuration point of view. And then when you look at the management side of it as well, one of the more recent solutions that we've just launched isn't called Number Connect, is a sort of unified number management system. So it's bringing all your numbers together, and that's been, all of our developments are all born out of customer pain points, and this has come through to us on a number of customers where they've got multinationals, you've got thousands of people around the globe, you've got multiple different systems in place. How do you manage those numbers? How do you know what's allocated, what's not allocated, what's capacity you have, who's it allocated to, what region? So being able to bring a full visibility of that is adding extra value to them and managing their voice services. So those are some of the things that we look at, trying to add the extra and eliminate some of those pain points.
Excellent. Okay, so public preview. Okay, is we're almost. I think we're almost there. Might even have happened by the time our viewers see this recording. After the public preview, I mean, how do you see this service developing in the future? Mattia, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, of course. So we are at the beginning of a journey. Like we are just entering in public review, and the meaning of public review is for the majority of the customer to start testing the service and validating on their own, on their environment, working with our operators. So usually we take roughly 3 months for evaluating this process and understand like if there are feedback or anything we need to include before going generally available. But this time usually varies depending on how public review is in generally going. So that's pretty much where we see ahead. And in terms of improving the service itself, there will be two directions that we will be looking into. So one is how we increase, as I was mentioning before, the footprint of the services that we provide through Operator Connect, expanding to workloads outside of calling, for example, or different capabilities. And the second one is how we keep iterating and improving the experience for our customers, integrating more and more experience within the portal, integrating, refining and integrating even deeper the integration that we have with our operators and so on. So I think there will be always room for making improvements and improving the experience of our customers, always towards the components we were talking about before, having a simple flow, having velocity on deployment, and having a reliable service that can be trusted from an enterprise perspective.
Excellent. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the session now, but before we all go, I'd like to ask you actually one last question, and that is, why should customers be excited about Operator Connect? It is new, it is simplifying a lot, and it's going to bring a lot to the table for adding voice into Microsoft Teams. I just wanted to have a quick round robin on that. Ian, do you want to kick us off on that? Why should customers be excited about this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think there's no secret in the fact that the explosion of and acceleration of Teams adoption over the past 12, 18 months has just been immense. And I think the natural progression for a lot of organizations is to add Teams to it. I think with Operator Connect, you've got this, as I say, third choice of that sits between the two existing offerings, which I think just gives you something different. It's not a halfway house. That's probably the wrong way of positioning it, but it does sit quite comfortably between the two. It's a very complementary service for direct routing and for calling plans. So again, coming back to what we've already said, it's about which one is right for the customer, but now they have choices in 3 different camps.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, Laura, last comment from yourself. What excites you about this proposition, or why should customers be excited about it?
Well, obviously the choice part is really important, but I also do hear from a lot of customers that it takes a lot of IT time and resources to deploy Teams Phone, and I think that Operator Connect will cut that down quite a bit and really free up some of that IT time for our customers, which is huge when it comes to saving time, and ultimately saving money. So I think that that's a really important part of it that is sometimes overlooked because it's not as exciting to talk about, but I'm sure it's exciting for our customers. So I just wanted to mention that.
Excellent. And last but not least, Mattia, you got the short straw. You're at the end of the line here. Why should customers be excited?
So I think over time, the needs also of the customer changed. I think last year being quite a proof that there is the need for velocity. There is the need basically for like breaking those ties that we have to on-premises infrastructure and so on. So I think what excites me is that Operator Connect is going right in that direction, and basically will serve this purpose and will help many of our customers to easily move basically to a cloud-based solution when it comes to calling, still keeping the relation with their existing operators, or selecting the operator of their choice, and at the same time reducing costs, because there will be less or none dependency on on-premise infrastructure and so on. So that's what excites me, and I'm really looking forward to have the first discussion with our customers around the onboarding on this new service.
Great. Well, I think that's the perfect place to end today's conversation. Laura, Ian, Mattia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you like today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. It's much appreciated. That's it for me. I'll see you next time.